Rebel Talent: Why It Pays to Break the Rules at Work and in Life. Francesca Gino, Pan, 2019. Many useful tips to discover your inner rebel. We all have one. Free yourself from habits that make you feel safe when they actually hold you back. To challenge social conventions and build your own success. Uncover the 5 talents underlying a rebel spirit and learn to apply them to your everyday life. The author. Francesca Gino is an Italian-American behavioral scientist. In 2010, she worked as a professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Then she became a professor of business management at Harvard Business School. Poets and Quants, a website that publishes news and evaluations of schools and faculties of economics, included her in the list of the best 40 professors of economics under the age of 40. Thinker50, the most reliable source in the world for identifying and evaluating the best managerial ideas of our time, considers her one of the 50 most influential managerial thinkers. Her most famous research is on the infringement of rules and the success that can come from it. The 5 core elements of rebel talent. From the moment that we are born, we are surrounded by rules in everyday life, at work, and at school. Most businesses or organizations have a series of rules to follow because without them, everything would fall into chaos. Having said that, there is also a negative aspect to rules, especially when they come from centuries of tradition. They hold us back and inhibit our ability to innovate. Rebels are people who are able to break the rules in a constructive way that creates some kind of renewal. The common quality that all rebels share can be called rebel talent, and it is made up of 5 basic elements: innovation, curiosity, perspective, diversity, authenticity. This book will show us the 5 elements of a rebel talent one at a time to find out the best combination of them. And finally, we will identify the 8 principles that all rebels follow. Every single one of us can be a rebel, and breaking rules and social conventions can help us to understand ourselves better and enrich our lives. What gives people a rebel status? We need conventions and social norms to create order and predictability in our society. To make sure that those norms are followed, people who violate them are punished and reformed to set an example to others. Rebels are outsiders. But this isn't always true. Breaking the rules does not necessarily make us outcasts, it can also make us heroes. Humans tend to send out signals to confirm their social status, such as driving an expensive sports car and wearing designer clothes or jewelry to show off their financial success. At the same time, rebels show that their talent gives them permission to break the rules. This is a basic trait of the rebel mentality. Just think about Mark Zuckerberg and how he challenges social norms by wearing jeans and t-shirts to important work meetings instead of the socially acceptable shirt and tie. According to research, those who break social convention by not following a certain type of behavior that is expected in a particular context are more likely to be admired because their behavior is consistent with their own inclinations, and they are able to deal with the consequences of anti-conformist behavior, thus emphasizing their rebel status. Every one of us can become anti-conformist in everyday life. Non-conformism increases our trust in ourselves, and research shows that it also helps to increase our happiness in daily interactions. Having said that, breaking the rules doesn't always have a positive outcome. Sometimes it can even be seen as annoying. For example, when walking into an office without knocking. Yet, as irritating as they are, people who use this type of behavior are seen as powerful. Power is usually linked to the idea of being free to do whatever we want. It doesn't matter whether the feeling of power is real or imagined. That's what makes us take more risks and become more authentic. Nurturing innovation for self-improvement. Our society is instilled with rituals and traditions whose main purpose is to impart and pass on values and to strengthen one's belonging to a group or culture. However, traditions deprive us of the experience of making difficult decisions. We often blindly follow traditions because we are sure that there is a valid reason why things have been done in the same way for years, but this isn't true. Most rituals are not the result of a long thought-out and carefully selected process, they are just routine. The preference for this type of behavior is called prejudice towards the status quo. This means that when we reach a state of well-being and feel at ease in any given situation, we have an irrational fear of changing it, even if a change could be beneficial. The rebel's talent is the ability to welcome uncertainty and the unknown and use it to fuel innovation. Human beings are born with a strong inclination to research and innovate, and the novelty that fades as we grow up, with our increased desire for predictability, teaches us an important lesson, that the intensity of our emotions vanishes over time. Novelty is a stimulus that provokes enthusiasm and keeps us engaged at work, when studying, or even in a relationship. However, as we have just said, the intensity of our emotion does fade with time. This is why novelty needs to be linked to the feeling of being challenged. For something to be exciting, it must be new, but it must also be challenging. Innovation has given us the gift of learning new skills and expanding ourselves. Novelty challenges us to rebel against our preference for the status quo and our comfort zone, and to try harder, whether at work or in a relationship. Let our curiosity be free. Curiosity is a talent that we have since childhood, when we experience everything for the first time. But growing up, we become aware of other people's judgment, and we hold our curiosity back, mostly because we don't want anyone to see that in fact we do not have all the answers. This idea is wrong. By asking questions, we show our interest, and it helps to gain the trust of the person that we are talking to, whilst flattering their ego, because we encourage them to show us how much they know. Rebels learn never to stop asking the famous question, why, fighting any fear that they have to ask for help. Curiosity comes with a series of benefits. It shows a greater sense of social support in our relationships and encourages us to change our perspective of a problem, seeing it more as a challenge and an opportunity to learn something new. In a company, curiosity can be encouraged to promote creativity and innovation, making the working environment a safe place to ask questions. Being open to new perspectives. Once we have become experts at our jobs, we feel at ease and tend to fall into a routine. So when we need to deal with a new problem that we think we have already seen before, we feel sure that we are equipped to handle it and therefore don't look at the whole picture because we have become complacent. Rebels, on the other hand, know how to maintain a new perspective, which helps them create a wider variety of solutions to any problem. Our sense of familiarity closes our minds and makes us rationalize our previous mistakes. And it can often make us feel so powerful that we are less likely to listen to other people's points of view. When this occurs, counterfactual thinking can help us. It benefits us with a wider perspective and reminds us that we have not always been experts in our sector, helping us to fight the deep-rooted point of view that comes from past experience. It is good to remind ourselves that our view of the world is far from complete, and however much we might be experts in our sector, there is always something new we can learn. Improving team productivity through assortment. The mechanics of the human thought process tend to work using stereotypes, through which we make links between two things to understand the world. However, stereotypes are generalizations promoted by society. For this reason, rebels who don't accept social roles are aware that stereotypes get in the way of new information and hinder change. In contrast to stereotypes, diversity promotes innovation. We usually prefer to work with colleagues who are similar to us because diversity can create some discomfort. Even so, research has shown that working in mixed groups produces better results, for the very reason that conflicting points of view can be the source of solutions that like minds would not have thought of. Conflicting points of view challenge our thought process in a constructive way. The advantages of being authentic. Human beings always tend to hide their personalities, their feelings, and their faults because they want to avoid being vulnerable. But vulnerability helps us to build a stronger connection to others. Not being authentic drains our energy, while authenticity instills greater courage and better equips us to deal with negative experiences. Most companies think that weaknesses are the easiest part of an employee to shape, but in reality, this is not the case. Research has shown that developing strengths increases self-confidence, encouraging us to be more authentic, to enjoy greater satisfaction from our work, and pushing us to become more of who we really are than to worry about what other people think of us. So how do you become a rebel? All the talents that underpin being a rebel are united by a single element: involvement. Human beings tend to give in to their habits, to fall into routines, to accept the status quo, which, even if it makes them feel safe, also reduces our involvement. But if you put a rebel's talents into action, it can help us to feel involved. It gives us a sense of belonging and pushes us to be our best selves. To encourage involvement in a company, you can use a flat structure with no levels of hierarchy, with which you avoid favoring the status quo and routine, providing a deep sense of belonging and a safe environment in which to share ideas. We can identify 8 principles of a true rebel leader. Search for innovation, encourage constructive conflict, create a safe environment where people can talk openly, be authentic. Don't let your experience hold you back. Use constraints to devise creative solutions. Encourage collaboration between departments. Get on the field with all the other employees. Show that the organization is not just the boss, but the group. Quotes. Rule breaking does not have to get us into trouble. If done correctly and in the right doses, in fact, it can help us get ahead. Every one of us, no matter our innate personality or where we are in our career, can be a rebel. This book will help you discover your own rebel talent and allow you to help others do the same. Take-home message. To discover your inner rebel, you need to learn to be at ease with things that make you uncomfortable, thanks to which we can improve ourselves, our approach to work and life, and our level of involvement in all areas.